Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Korban. I'm usually a streamer on Twitch. And today, we're gonna get spooky. So everyone, be sure to turn off the lights, put on your earphones. This is gonna be a sensory experience. As you can see on the top here, I'm currently very edgy. This is kind of dark, I think, so let's get into it. I think there's also voice acting in this game, so during this voice acting, I would not say anything. Also, I'm currently using VR Live, so that's why you cannot really see the smile in my face when I play this game. Alright, let's get into it. The window clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneering, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house has a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot of its days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whistling, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to assure himself there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Episode 1. The Owl Will Arrive.
Убери книгу немедленно! Сколько раз говорила, не читай за столом, вредно. Сидишь, сутулился весь.
Oh, gameplay. I didn't protest. I put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic, she almost looked like your typical girl from the commercials.
Пока не съешь, из-за стола не встанешь.
I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder and the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Costa Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes.
Что я говорила?
Я достану.
I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What's this carved on the other side of the table? Karina. That's my mom's name. I guess she carved it off with something pointy when she was little. She was sure a rascal damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No. She's been a bit of bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagine my grandma coming into her mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed where Olya sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice.
Тайга особое место, дитятка. Она к тебе присматривается, принюхивается, словно хочет понять, что ты за зверь такой. Понравишься, в беде не бросит. А будешь проказничать, схватит за бочок и утащит с собой под землю. Тут и дело с концом.
Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. But she tells some dope bedtime stories. Those were the times that the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and neutral accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening to one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket, called it her cute funeral box. Dope, Grandma, we stand. It waited for its time in the closet patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Ollie was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze towards the frosted window. There was a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of the frost formed a picture on the glass.
Оля, гляди, лиса! Где?
It almost looked like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit, it look under a certain angle.
Да не на улице, на стекле. Смотри, вот нос, вот.
Ну-ка, доедай.
Да, да, сейчас. Я ничего не вижу.
Живо. Совсем немного осталось.
А, вот! Но все равно не похоже.
А я говорю, похоже.
Не-а!
Похоже.
We love her.
Прекратите! Ну что за дети?
No, I couldn't see the fox either. I mean, I could see it a little. He looks more angry now. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty pattern, similar to the stretched out metal leaves, kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off. Stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors with witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Ollie always covered her ears whenever she heard something like, "What's the point in all of this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply. "For the sake of our family." I was caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. D. D-I-C. I didn't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families.
Да что твоя лиса? Вот у меня на окне сова!
Опять ты со своей совой.
Так ты же вчера мне верил!
Никто ключи от машины не видел? Вроде оставлял на подоконнике.
Вроде. Вроде оставлял, вроде нет. Вроде взрослый мужчина, отец двоих детей, а вроде...
Перестань, пожалуйста, Карина. Дай мне спокойно собраться.
В корзине твои ключи, возле телефона.
Огромное тебе человеческое спасибо.
Oh, sarcastic.
Антон, ешь быстрее, а то как мученик сидишь.
А сова?
Не было там никакой совы.
Была! Глазюки огромные! Во! И светятся!
Ollie sprung up from her chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers, the size of an apple each.
В прошлом году бабай в шкафу, сейчас сова.
Но я же видела!
Ollie shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support.
А ты не думала подружиться с ней, нет? Вымышленными мышами покормить, например?
Не подначивай ребенка. Просто мала еще, и спать одна боится.
Ollie pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. So uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, bringing with keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on an incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Ollie had trouble sleeping ever since we moved into this house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn the VCR on. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Oh my god. And then Olga said she saw the giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Olga refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that owl was just one of her nightmares. After last night, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, but to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? That night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep, and I'm thinking of what to expect from my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pair of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouette. The cruel grays filled with the icy sneers made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Will they gang up on me and beat me down, stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I don't want to go there that badly. I don't want to see people who are just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider of some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olia begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around." Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmate lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmate will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with big glasses? What does it matter, honey? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. That's sweet. The house creaked and pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9th-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with the TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners and the closet cobwebs and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family with their ashen eyes were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by a noisy draft. One would think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was making with the sound of the wind and the creaking of the old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing it there amidst the cold, snowy night, right? Is that a good idea? Oh, someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out in the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in the moonlight, bumped into the pile of snow, rolled around and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around, holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment, then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadow dancing in the starless abyss made my imaginings go wild, made me anxious at the same time. Suddenly the music had stopped. Oh no. The dancing shadow froze in place and I could swear pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Oh my god, that's a wolf? It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadows of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like a bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guests scrape around looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with a blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remember the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like of a tin doll, ants running up and down the legs of a chair that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head, pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their socket, and she able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was speaking the same words.
На острове Буяне в Синем океане стоит домовина, в ней сало и глина, волосы седые, чертям еда, раба Божьего Антона не тронут никогда. Бесы забудут дорогу к дому, мертвые к мертвому, живое к живому.
Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hanged man. And then the night dosed me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone was scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad has become very cautious recently, so he installed it with a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone.
Мертвое к мертвому, живое к живому.
I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then... oh no. The doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped up from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the train drains. Now, you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivore's mouth of a doorway. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling and snared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out the gaping black hole. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me.
Ты спишь, Тоша?
My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief.
Оля, я не сплю. Что случилось?
Olia frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry.
Она опять прилетела и пялится на меня. Прогони ее, Тоша. Прогони, пожалуйста. Я так боюсь.
The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olia down. What a good big brother.
Это был сон, глупая. Не пугайся. Сны не кусаются. Никто тебя не обидит.
Olia sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself?
У меня есть идея. Пойдем к тебе в комнату, видик посмотрим. Спящую красавицу, например. Тебе же нравится этот мультик?
Почему у спящей красавицы принца у меня эта страшная птица?
The question took me by surprise.
Ладно, давай посмотрим Золушку.
My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window and could be fooled by my grandma's old chance. Couldn't be satisfied with the feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Тоша, ты идешь?
Да, сейчас.
Oh my god. That spooked the shit out of me. Meaty. Oh. That's why I didn't want to laugh at all. We had an owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. No, that's scarier. Human. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guest could come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the forward door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olya always hides. I felt like kettle bottles were tied to my feet but still dragged them towards the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled at the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused.
Здравствуйте.
Senior officer who wore a grim expression noted.
Тут мальчик вчера потерялся. Вовой зовут. Глянь, пожалуйста. Ты его не видел?
The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile.
Нет.
Точно? Посмотри внимательнее.
Где мне его видеть? И я тут никого не знаю, да и из дома-то почти не выхожу.
А может, видел в окно?
Да. У тебя ведь окна на лес.
The window.
Нет, не видел.
Ясно.
He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadows cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks on the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some reason.
Вы, кстати, как на новом месте?
Понемногу. Только вот дочка маленькая по городу скучает.
Скучает, значит. Из местных вас никто не беспокоит?
Все хорошо, спасибо.
The policeman pierced through me one more time with his gray eyes. My head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
I asked that in a shaky voice that looked like a polite boy, and to end this unpleasant conversation sooner.
Я вот стою и думаю, ты, малец, на племеша моего похож. Шустрый парнишка твоих лет, с такими же окулярами. Все книжками зачитывался, детективами. Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить. Как я, хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me.
Ох, ребятушки, сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что. Жизнь сейчас совсем другая пошла.
Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
Ну да ладно. Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
В 6-м.
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не завел?
Пока нет. Я только после каникул в школу пойду.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
The policemen were gone along with their shadows and the smell of cheap cologne and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wonder what it's like for him, being all alone there. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents felt? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Выходит, что так. Бедный ребенок.
I looked out of the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remember all teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I read this summer. Your average boy and girls investigated all sorts of mystery there. They look for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam, solve any complicated case. They become local celebrities and must meet their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen footprints that led to the forest. And then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation on my own? Bad idea. Maybe I'll find that lost boy. You won't. And I'll get a reward. Olya will be so happy. Not only Olya, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Olya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and bunch of tapes for myself and a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little no idea what was accounting jobs like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us, but nowadays Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olya. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues.
Пойду погуляю.
Ага, сейчас. Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам ходили. Лес вон какой густой. А если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
Even worse, I go through the hallway.
Да я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
Что я тебе сказала? Мне дважды повторять. Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. The dark and stuffy closet. Mama said it smells like mice, but how would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself in the fresh leaf with a sharpened axe. And Olya cannot even be lured close to it. She thinks Baba is living there. I tried to help her fight her fear once. I opened the door and turned on a dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools, and scratch walls. She still didn't believe me. And I'm like to hide in the closet and listen to Olya count outside. 1, 2, 3, better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. Oh, that is disgusting. Grandma kept ice cream for me and Olya there, but now I could see meat bits for soup and clubbed together pelmeni. I grew to hate them already. Lie to Mom? I don't want to lie to Mom.
Антон, сейчас ремня получишь. Ни шагу до ворот.
Okay, well, I guess we're lying to Mom. It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from home.
Мам, там что-то с телевизором случилось. Картинка какая-то тусклая, и экран весь в полосах.
My mom's face became visibly distorted.
Без ножа меня режешь. Дострелялся в уток своих.
Any F?
Говорила же, посадите мне кинескоп своей приставкой. Где мы теперь мастера найдем в дыре этой, а?
Может быть, просто настройки сбились? Сходи, посмотри, пожалуйста.
Нормально же работал с утра.
Из-за снегопада, наверное, неполадки.
Mom rubbed her hands clean on her apron and went to Olya's room. Okay, time to go. Run. Run, Anton. I opened the front gate and went into the field, carefully so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half of the distance toward the forest, my snow paths became as high as knees. That's terrifying. I remember my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head all on its own. In the light of day, those distant fingers felt like a simple dream. Sound turned to my nightmares to ash, but aftertaste was still there. Distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me. And a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olya. There as time reached its limit, a one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olya turned to stone listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around laughing or spent time together, almost like all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed with Olya present, she would always frown and snorted in a funny way. But one day it all changed. Something important had left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke out and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with the dead, cold eyes who sometimes visited us in our previous home, the eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground and everything. And somewhere far away a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There was only me, the wide field, and the wind that was sweeping up icy dust and belts powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast to the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snake. Rotten leaves and coniferous needles froze into the ice. Dry and prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest, or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. A glove, it looks like. I tried to get a closer, drowning in the snow, and when I'm almost at the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it up to the police? The senior officer looked gloomy, but he still remembered of Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called Streets of Broken Lights. He was always so anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will his mitten help them find the lost boy? Vova! I heard a distant shout, looking like it came from the river. Vova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees, hiding. I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally towards the ground, its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all just in my imagination. An embarrassed bird flapped its wing loudly. A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away from just a moment. When I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. I could barely see it. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. My muscles so tightly sprung, my heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the ticket, and I'll sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Run away. Don't chase it. Lumps of snow fell from the branch that reminded me of the sound soil makes me when you throw it into the pit, on top of a casket. I immediately felt dizzy as it was balancing on a precipice. I slowly backed away from my finding. I felt like at the moment I touched it, a trap would spring, exactly. And the mouse would get caught. Someone walked on the ice close by. My inner voice whispered, "Save yourself, run." My nerves got the better of me. I ran, burying my head in my shoulder. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with a giant leap. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged in the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me the strength, spurred me on. "You can do it. Don't stop." I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went too numb. It felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped about my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried-up raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. It felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became vicious like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this tricky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone, and my boots slipped up the hole, and my soles were on a hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump from there and ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. The house was my line of defense from the shadow that flapped their wings and the creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks, as if a dog was striking the wood with its paw, demanding to be let in so it could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was so much louder than my surroundings, I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in our front yard and Mom had locked the door? Running in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and it obediently gave away. Well, hallelujah. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Freezing breath breached into the house and crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom picked up the kitchen and chastised me with the same frigid voice she always used when she was talking to Dad.
Что конкретно тебе не ясно в просьбе не хлопай дверьми?
Я случайно.
I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, mere 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening. Melting like snow in spring with its last bit of strength, I had left my body too. My legs gave way and I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked at me the same as before all those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with snow.
Ты где был? Я тебе что говорила, а? Чтобы ты дома сидел. Я и для тебя пустое место.
I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was very little and wanted her to cuddle me. Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel, her voice rang out.
У отца сигареты пропали. Признавайся, ты их стащил? Курить бегаешь?
Там за мной кто-то гнался. Я думал, меня...
I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned towards me and sniffed my clothes like a beast searching for the smell of tobacco. Dad squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant. She covered her mouth with her head.
Гляди, вон же они. Прямо у забора.
My heart started thumping as if I had become a prey once again, and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I could hear something scratch at the door just like in my nightmare. My mom beckoned me with her finger and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look in the kitchen window facing me in fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in the snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest.
Божечки, ты их испугался? Да они сами тебя перепугаются, Антон.
Они гнались за мной, словно за зайцем. А вдруг они бешеные?
The smile that slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as it was her first time seeing them.
Что если они нападут на Олю?
Мам,
Вот бы твой отец их всех перестрелял.
Oh no, don't kill the dogs.
мама, они живые.
А что? Ты уж определись, они тебе друзья или враги? Не маленький ведь уже.
Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. I want to sink through the floor from embarrassment.
Иди сюда, паникер. Да не стой столбом. Вот, таблетку на. Быстро.
Oops, sorry. A golden-colored pill reminiscent of death walls fell onto
Я
my
уже пил
palm.
сегодня, за завтраком.
Попререкайся мне еще. Сказала дома сидеть, нет же. Был бы отец, выпорол. Сейчас же выпей, а то ночью не уснешь. Тебе ведь в школу завтра.
So I swallowed the bitter medication, drinking it down in similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Fofa's mitten. Maybe it wasn't mitten at all. Just like the forest monsters. And Olia's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Oh, it's a drug. Either the pill had an immediate effect or my overexerted brain didn't fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me and bringing yawny indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил? Можешь, если захочешь. Раздевайся. Уснул, что ли?
Нет, мам, просто задумался.
No, it's a drug.
Интересно, о чем же?
Так, глупости всякие.
Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest.
Точно все нормально? У тебя такое лицо было, когда милиционер про окно спросил.
Все нормально, мам.
She heaved a deep sigh.
Хорошо.
It seems like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer, and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Olia was done watching her favorite Little Mermaid episode and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stepped before the sink and studied my reflection in the mirror like I was trying to solve one of those spot difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar and Lago's voice died down. I walked past Olia's bedroom and slipped into my own. The simple action drained from the last bit of strength from me. I sat on the bed. And then I noticed there was someone behind the curtains. My tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to the medication I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort, as if the wind was blowing the walls out like a pair of sails. The corners of the room bent and undulated. The only stable thing in the whole room was the figure between the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth was stuck to my hidden visitor, just like a shroud.
Оля,
Who would else be standing there? I mean, it does look like your sister. I stood up and licked my dried up lips.
Оля, очень смешно.
The silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped softly by the curtains as if there was a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached towards the curtains, but dumb beat my heart, controlled by medication. The wind sang in the field with a chorus of voices. For a second I wanted to return to the bed, just lie down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking bad at me. They're looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep.
Попался!
No.
Да я сразу понял, что это ты.
A blinding bright hello lit up above Alia's head with the setting sun as the background. My sister was shining. When she was just a baby, Dad always used to say she was shining with happiness. I was retorted, but Dad, she's not some flashlight. But I brought her to the window one day, and sunlight poured on her smiling face. It felt like I was holding a light woven child.
А почему к нам милиция приходила? Ты что-то натворил?
Нет, конечно. Скажешь тоже.
Это из-за совы, да?
I showed her a worried smile and rubbed her head.
Один мальчик потерялся в лесу.
О, ему, наверное, там очень холодно. А его найдут?
Обязательно. Участковый по домам ходит, всем фотографию его показывает.
Olia traversed the room with care and pressed her tiny palms against the window.
А почему он по домам ходит, а не по лесу? Боится?
The question caught me off guard.
Милиционеры ничего не боятся. И лес они прочесали.
I changed the topic, as if trying to get Olia as far away as possible from the forest ticket.
Если я сам найду пропавшего мальчика, нам, может, награду дадут. Кучу всякого, как в поле чудес. Клёво же.
Olia wasn't listening to me. She asked in a hushed voice while piercing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic for her.
А что, если эта сова его утащила?
Ерунда. Не может сова поднять человека. Ну вот что...
I was picking my words with utmost care. I forced them out of my overexerted brain.
Ты в лес не суйся. Мне кажется, он какой-то, как бы сказать, проклятый, что ли.
Как в сказке?
Нет, скорее, как на той страшной кассете, что родители прячут.
Olga shivered and stole a glance at the window. As I looked at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She was so fragile, it was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind and her small fire would be gone.
Хорошо тебе. Меня вот мама не пускает даже на крыльцо. Как принцесса в башне сижу. Никуда не могу выйти. Так и умру тут от скуки.
Не придумывай. От скуки еще никто не умирал. У тебя же есть я и мультики, а мама с папой скоро помирятся.
Знаешь, что бы я загадала на следующий день рождения? Чтобы родители тоже в детей превратились. И мы бы все вместе играли, как раньше.
Ага, а если бы они стали размером с жука, то мы бы их в спичечный коробок посадили.
Olga giggled and tuggled at my sleeve.
Тоша, пойдем Аладдина смотреть.
Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was washed over by some sort of heinous apathy.
Вымотался я. Что-то не хочется.
Ну пойдем. Мне скучно одной, а мама занята все время. Можно выбрать другой мультик, который ты еще не видел.
Да я все наши кассеты наизусть знаю.
А вот и не все. Ты Питера Пэна не видел. Помнишь, ты уснул на середине? А там потом такое. Ну пойдем, пойдем.
Давай попозже.
Рассказать тебе, чем все закончилось?
Утром расскажешь.
Утром не захочу. Придумала. А давай в прятки.
Нет, Оль.
Тогда нарисуй мне динозавра.
Оля, блин.
Нарисуй, нарисуй.
Да оставь ты меня в покое!
I blurted out without thinking. And then I was immediately taken aback. I never screamed at my little sister like that. Olga stared at me in shock. Her lips started trembling, a precursor to tears. My chest was seething with disgust and embarrassment. What's happening to me? I hurried to prevent Olga from crying.
Ладно, уболтала. Давай смотреть мультики. Только
Уже не хочу.
I came up to her, put my hand on her soft head.
пойдем. Питера Пэна посмотрим.
Ага, ты опять уснешь.
I smiled and lifted her chin. Her eyes were wet and felt bottomless.
Не усну, обещаю.
What a nice brother.
А потом я тебе целого трицератопса нарисую.
Ура! Трипи! Сири! Попса!
Ну, почти.
Olga rubbed her eyes with the sleeve of her pajamas, and a shining smile returned to her face.
Давай ты пока кассету перемотаешь, а я у мамы попрошу сгущенки с хлебом. Только утром свежий привезли, как ты любишь.
Неси, только аккуратнее, а то разольешь. Опять ругаться будут.
Спорим, не разолью. Кассета где-то в тумбочке. Поищи пока.
Olga disappeared in the doorway, and I dragged my feet in the neighboring room. The old photon TV was gathering dust in the corner. All that was left was clicking the button on the front panel. The tube warmed up and a familiar white noise started dancing on the black screen. I must reach out to turn on the VCR when the noise calmed down and a blurry image appeared for a moment. It was dark taiga forest just like the one outside my window. The picture split in the screen in half. Something creepy resembling human speech was coming out of the speaker. Just a few moments later, the scenery was again overshadowed by noises. Did it catch some rogue signal? Local TV station only really showed Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. Well, just recently I used to always watch Robotech before school. It was so awesome. If I should tinker with the antenna, what if I catch the channel again? On the other hand, Olga had asked me to find the tape. It would be nice to disappoint her, but in my sleepy state I didn't have the strength to do all of it. Let's please our sister. She was about to cry before. I shifted through the shelves full of dolls and blue hippos from Kinder Surprise. I found the tape I needed thanks to its shabby spine. I got the black rectangle from its box. The tape inside it rustled while rewinding the beginning. This rustle was lulling me to sleep. Drowniness attacked me while I was swatting before the TV. Image swirled in my head, me and Olia flying above the forest, tumbling in the soft clouds. My little sister is laughing, but her smile becomes more and more forced with every passing second. I noticed that the clouds underneath us part, wearing the bristly pine tops. Zombie darkness lurked among the trees. The wings are no longer able to hold us and Olia.
Ты не смотришь без меня?
My sister brought the tray with unevenly cut bread and whole can of condensed milk. I rubbed my eyes.
Нет, садись.
Мама с папой опять ругаются.
У них сейчас период такой.
Глупый какой-то период.
On the screen, Wendy was hiding Peter Pan's shadow into the dresser. Olia was entertained by the cartoonist dog Nana.
Может, и нам родители собачку купят?
Ага, как же.
В Небыляндии у меня будет своя собственная собака. И кошка. И попугайчик.
Olia smeared a slice of bread with thick layer of condensed milk and handed it to me.
А у тебя все молочные зубы выпали?
Конечно.
Olia frowned deep in thought.
У Питера Пэна зубы молочные. Вдруг со взрослыми зубами тебя не пустят в его страну?
I don't think it works like that.
Мы что-нибудь обязательно придумаем.
Попросим папу исправить тебе возраст в паспорте.
I mean, to do that, that's illegal.
С чего это папа будет документы подделывать?
Olia took a bite from the sandwich and started talking with her mouth full.
Будет. Мама говорила, что он так делал. А я подслушала.
Смотри, уши вырастут, как у Дамбо.
Olia got worried and touched her ear. I smiled to myself. My little sister was silent now. She just devoured bread, watching the adventures of Peter Pan, Tinker Bell, and James Hook, as if she got sucked into the fairy tale of Neverland. To be honest, I always imagined myself there in a land where no one ages, where no one argues over little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of broken plates at night. It felt like I was dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister's scream pulled me back to reality.
Туша, скорее, шторы задерни!
Зачем? Никто же на тебя не смотрит.
Уже темно, а когда темнеет, прилетает сова. Я боюсь.
Oops, I forgot to read that one. I did my best not to look outside, towards the treetops, towards the taiga forest, which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just a visual effect from the shadows of branches scraping the snow.
Тоша, мама думает, что я напридумывала про сову. И папа считает, что раз я маленькая, это значит врушка. А сова есть. Вот честная-пречестная, есть она. Ты же мне веришь, что она там и каждую ночь прилетает и...
I sharply grabbed Olia's hand and looked her in the eyes. I was trying to transfer at least some of my courage and determination. But did I really have those qualities?
Я тебе верю, слышишь? Ты только родителям больше не рассказывай про сову. У них и так хлопот по горло, она только рассердится. Ты мне говори, если что случится. И в окно не смотри.
Но она хочет, чтобы я смотрела.
Перехочет. Притворись, что ее нет и не было никогда, что она выдумка, как родители говорят. Ей ждать надоест, она улетит.
That's good advice. Phil followed Peter Pan's adventure as if nothing had happened, as if the forest didn't kidnap kids, as if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running from the crocodile, and Captain Pan was headed to London on a glided style boat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my little sister. Olia's eyelids had dropped. She started snoring lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. I stood up and left Olia's room. I was looking out the window, studying the field when Mom peeked into my room.
Довольно баловства. Завтра первый день в школе. Ложись, тебе надо выспаться. Не хочешь же ты, чтобы тебя все дразнили Соней?
Adults think everything is so simple, as if sound sleep would ensure my classmate would like me. I covered myself with a blanket up to my neck and listened to the house humming to something invisible rustling in the corners. My inner voice had questioned for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? It was just part of me growing up, and I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind the barrier that was my walls. Some ethereal entity wandered the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled on and on in the night. My thoughts were like annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I fell into slumber. It has come after all, the day I feared the most, the first day of a new school term. Episode 2, Time to Play with You. And with that, we're gonna end this chapter here. And this is actually really fun and very interesting story, and I can't wait for the next one. But that's all the time I have for today, and we will go on episode 2 in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing more of my content, I stream every week at Saturday and Sunday on Twitch using KST hour. It's probably like around 9 p.m. But it changes according time, so follow my Twitter if you want to see that. But if you're just interested on my YouTube videos, you can just subscribe, see more, comment. I would love to see what your thoughts on the game so far. But thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.